So every Saturday morning from 9:30 to 12, this is the time that your mom tells you what you have to do in the house, what your jobs are to clean that day. And every week it's different because there's different reasons. There's something coming up, a different celebration, maybe a birthday party. So you go to her and she tells you what to do. So that's the routine. Okay, so here we arrive. Today's Saturday. You've gotten up, you've eaten something. It's 9:30. She doesn't blow a whistle anymore, but she gets you there on the dot 9:30. And this is to the children. I want you to ask you, how do you know, how will you find out? How will you find out what your mother wants you to do? Hello, mystery question, huh? Children, how will you find out? You can edit. How will you find out what you're supposed to do? Yes. No. But only your mother knows. How do you find out? You don't know how, huh? How? You ask her. That's simple. You ask her, Mom, what do you want me to do? Now, let me ask you this. Do you think you could do this? You know that every week it changes. You don't know what she wants. Could you do this and just go, okay, I know what you want, Mom. Could you do that? No. You have to ask her. So I'm going to propose to you, if you want to really see in life, see what's important, see what you should do with your life, see what you should be about, see what you should change, see how you should make this Lent more meaningful, I would propose to you that an important thing to do would be to ask God, in your opinion, since you made me, God, since you created the whole world and the whole universe, God, since you know everything, God, since you're loving and merciful and good and you always forgive me and you only care about what I want, like in the psalm it says, goodness and kindness follow me all the days of my life. That's you, God. So I just thought I would ask you, what do you think I should do? Pretty good question, no? Rather than to exclude God in the things that you do, especially the important things, how much better it would be to include God and ask God. Now, you might say, yeah, but I won't hear a voice, but you will hear a voice. It won't be one through your ears, it'll be through your heart. For example, if you see your little brother or sister crying, what would you say to them? Yes. Cheer up. What might you ask them? Okay, are you okay? Is something wrong? What happened? Now, how did you know to do that? Did somebody say, go ask her what's wrong? From the heart. You know, you listen. Now, that's the context to listen to these readings today. In the first reading, God was going to choose a king for Israel. And so the prophet who was going to do the choosing in God's name went to this house, and there were 7 brothers there, and went through every single one of them. He said, nope. So he says to the father, do you have any more? Because none of these, I can tell, none of these are the choice. He says, well, there's a little runt out in the field taking care of the sheep. Ask him. He's the smallest. Bring him to me. He walks in, and the prophet says, whoa, that's the one. That's the one. And he knew, God just spoke to his heart, and he knew that was the one that God was choosing. And so he's anointed and made king of Israel. In the second reading, this is what is told to the people. A people who once walked in darkness, that's you. You once walked in darkness, but now you have seen the light. What do you think the light is? Or maybe I'll give it away. Who do you think the light is? Yes. The light is Jesus. Give her a hand. My God. Light is Jesus. And if you listen to Jesus and look at his example, you will see what you should do and what you should become. There it is. So in the gospel, we have a very beautiful story today. I read the shorter version, in case you were wondering how I got through it so fast. There's a man who was blind, but he didn't lose his sight. He didn't have an accident or got cataracts, or he didn't have a problem. Somebody didn't throw something in his eye and then he went blind. He was born without being able to see. He never saw anything in his whole life. He was blind from birth. Now, in the longer version, the gospel notes, well, people have been cured of blindness, but never have we ever heard of anyone who was born blind regaining their sight or getting their sight. But this man was born blind. Now, the day that Jesus walked by happened to be a Sabbath. Their Saturday, it would be like our Sunday. And in the book of the Jews, the rule book, it said, cannot do any work on the Sabbath. And even healing was considered work. It was very, very strict rule. But Jesus saw the man with his own eyes, and he saw him with his heart, and he was moved to compassion. He did a healing thing. He took some dirt, and he put saliva in it, and he made a little mud, put it on his eyes, prayed over him. He told him, go wash your eyes in the pool of Siloam, which he did. And when he washed him, he goes, OMG, OMG, I can see. I can see. So he comes back. Now the Pharisees heard about it, and they started out, well, how is it that you're seeing, and what are you doing? Well, how did you get cured? And he said, well, Jesus did this. He said, but it's on the Sabbath. So they started criticizing. Now, you see, Jesus saw with his eyes and saw with his heart. The Pharisees and scribes saw with their eyes, but their hearts were blind. They couldn't see why Jesus would do this. All they could see is he broke the law, which he did. But he did it out of love and compassion. And so the story goes on and back and forth, back and forth. And finally, when they say to the man, well, how did he do this? And he explains it another time. Well, then what do you think of this? Who is he? He's a prophet. So they said, you were born blind. You're a sinful man. Get out of here. They threw him out of the temple. He goes back to Jesus. Jesus catches up with him. And he speaks to him. And he says, do you know who has done this? And he didn't know. And he said, it is I. And Jesus says, basically says, I'm the Messiah. And I have brought you healing and sight. And he asked him, do you believe it? And he said, well, tell me so I'll know. He said, it is I. And he said, then I do believe it. And the miracle of this story is twofold. Not only did he give him physical sight, because he was blind from birth, but he also gave him sight in the heart, so that he was able to recognize Jesus, Jesus is the light. And the man who literally walked in darkness for years, never saw light. For the first time, he sees Jesus, the light, and he says, I do believe. Jesus not only brought him to fullness of physical health and seeing, but to a deeper healing of the heart so that he could see with faith. Now, this story, over 2,000 years old, is a beautiful story that we look back to and say, well, how lovely is this? But you see, this is meant to be our story today. So I would ask the question, and this is really what Lent is about, how do we walk in darkness? Because we all do. Everybody here except a little tiny baby infant doesn't. But anybody who's 3 years old, 4 years old, there's a little darkness when they say, I don't want to, Mommy, and they throw a doll at Mommy. Ooh, they know that's wrong. And they usually feel bad afterward. I'm sorry, Mommy. Oh, that wasn't right. So we all know what sin is. That's darkness. And that darkness is ugly. It hurts. It hurts others. It hurts ourselves. And when we walk in darkness, especially when we refuse to see the light, then the darkness gets even deeper. But Lent is about admitting our own faults. This Tuesday, we'll have a parish penance service with about 8 priests here, so people can come during Lent and say, I want to look inside and name my darkness. And to say, I'm sorry for these attitudes and these ways that I think and act. Because when we do that and flush that out, we open ourselves for Jesus, who is the light, to come in and give light to our hearts and our souls. That's what Lent is about. And if we do it well, that's why we do our penances, everything that we do, we come to celebrate the death and resurrection of the Lord, and it is brilliantly bright light that helps us to see the world, others, and ourselves in very different ways. At this time, we're going to do our second scrutiny, and like I said last week, a scrutiny is this. Father Perry, you had beautiful purple vestment on last week, but this pink one, you've outdone yourself. It's excellent, the best I've ever seen. And I say, no, it's terrible. Why is it terrible? Well, you can't really see this, but there's one stitch missing here. You see, it's ruined. I'm going to throw it away. What? This is scrutinizing, looking closely. And so the scrutiny is to look closely into our heart and lives and say, what could be better? What could help me come to follow Jesus Christ better in my life? How can I grow? And so we're going to pray over our catechumens, our elect, and at this moment they'll go to their places with their sponsors.